Hello and welcome back to the Double O Railway. Please excuse the noises in the background as usual. There's construction work going on not far from here. We're looking at a kind of a gaping hole in the centre of the layout. The little baseboard that can be removed has been removed, and we're starting to do work on creating a space for the engine shed and some sidings for locos. Now, one thing that's really obvious is just how much the paint has oxidized in the space of 5 years. You can see the distinct line there. You can possibly also see a couple of holes, one there, and there should be another one somewhere. It may be covered by the platform, which has moved a tiny bit. But these allow the board to be located precisely and for the tracks to clip into the power rail that you see sitting in space. So let's go and have a look at the board itself right now. So here is the board sitting on my workbench, and we're just, there are two of us doing this, we're just playing around with geometry, seeing what tracks we can use, how we can make this thing work. And if I come in a little closer, you can see that some of the track work is already screwed down, and that's been so for some time. And it's this area over here that we're working on, and we've got all sorts of bits of track to play with. Now, if I come around here, you can see that this is a little kind of an upstand that sits on the layout, and as I explained in the earlier part of this video, there are little pegs in this to locate it precisely on the layout. So let's just flick back to the layout for a moment at another angle, and you can see exactly how this fits. Here we are looking at the layout from another direction, and you can see the incline and the half-length power rail sitting in space for all the tracks to clip in. And this is a better view of one of the locating holes. I've just used dowels. There are only two. That's all that's necessary because the board sits up against the piece of timber there, the unpainted piece of timber that you can see there, and it precisely on this side locates this platform. So it all comes together really simply after all the work that was done to create it. Later on, we'll have a look at the underside of the board and consider how we're going to wire this thing. One of the things that's going to have to happen is a fair-sized hole is going to have to be cut through this baseboard and the baseboard below it, so that the wiring can get to the control panel. So here's a little bit of the fiddling about that goes into working out track geometry. I've got a helper here today, so I can film this and you can see what goes on here. Well, we're over the edge there, so we'll probably wind up with a quarter track or something like that. And we also need to make some decisions about the geometry of the points that you just saw that hand on. And here's the attempt with the quarter track. We'll see how that goes. This is a young person getting used to Hornby Double O, which takes a little bit of doing. Okay, so we're good for length there. Now, the next question is the geometry of these back-to-back points. Are we happy with that? What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So we'll leave that and go to work up here.
Use this one.
Yeah, have a look at this. This is truly rough. So here's the geometry that we've settled upon. You can see everything there. The next job to do is to test all the points, and we have a transformer for that, which has been specially built. And once that's done, we'll screw all this down, and then we will set about wiring. Here's a current view of the underside of the small baseboard with the wires in for the isolating tracks and some of the wiring for the points. The blue wires connect to one location and feed power to all of the points, and then there'll be some grey strands going in, probably in a later video, and they are hooked up to an off-on-off switch, which actually does the business of moving the points. Now I'll turn this over in a minute and you can see how it looks on the other side. You can see that there's just enough room, thanks to the way in which I've raised this baseboard, just enough room for all of this wiring to sit underneath. Now, I'm pretty certain that on some other part of this video you heard some idiots say that we finally reached track geometry that we were happy with. Well, very nearly. We've added in one isolating track here, and this portion of track has been straightened out. Now, you can see the green wires for isolating tracks there, and the power supply into the point motors, which are all linked up. These can be all wired together, and the on-off switches are then wired into the two other inputs on the point motor. I think we'll leave this video here for now and maybe make a part 2 when we've got everything else together, and you can see how it all plugs in. So that's probably, I would say, a month or 2 away, because we've got to build a little control board for this and get a lot of wiring and plugs sorted out. So thanks very much for watching. This is where we're at, and I hope you found this video interesting.